All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hawke's Partner Showcase. Today, we're going to be talking about retention. With me, I have founder, I'm so sorry, Blake, founder of EcoDrive, Blake Russian. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Blake. I'm co-founder of EcoDrive. We're a sustainability platform and been partners with Hawke for a while, and super excited to be here.
I love it. I love it. It's so great. I'm so excited to talk to you guys today because we do have a few questions for you guys. We are lucky to be partners with you guys, and our partnership program we take super seriously. So I'm sure we try our best to take care of everybody. And one thing that we loved about EcoDrive specifically, you guys super stood out because your mission of sustainability while retaining clientele and working through e-commerce is fascinating. I'd love it if you could give us like a little bit of a summary of what you do at EcoDrive so we can follow along.
Yeah, definitely. So EcoDrive is a tech integrated partner that basically ties impact projects to brands, but most importantly, their end customers. So really our goal and focus is to try and bridge that gap between sustainability and making it something that a brand can understand, because it is a big, complicated topic, but more importantly, that ties to their end customer, because that's what really matters for all the brands, right? Is you want to communicate with your
Right.
customer and have something tangible and something that they understand too. And so that's why we've really focused around the tree planting side. So we match like one-to-one model, planting a tree for customer action, like online order, review met, and all those things. And it's really with this goal of making sustainability understandable and trackable and traceable and feel like something that you can actually resonate with and see the follow through. So we verify every tree gets in the ground. It's part of the big focus around like the retention play and kind of how that all works. And it's really a story and something you can do with your customers that's unique in the sustainability space.
Ah, I love that. And I want to know so much about EcoDrive. I know that we have topics to talk about today, but I am just dying to know like the origin story of EcoDrive. I want to know how it started, where the idea came from, and what you guys are looking for in the future.
Yeah, so long story, like any business. But really, the way we got our start is Trevor and I come from the e-commerce and brand space, and we were doing another business. We were college roommates actually, and started a whole nother business where we were doing tree planting. And while we were doing that, it was actually out of home advertising, a whole different business. But at that same time, we were working in e-commerce, and the first brands we ever got to start with working were brands like 10 Tree. Ironically, that's how we got introduced to the tree planting, to where it was basically some type of social good or environmental impact tied into the brand, to where it buy the product and they'll give back something to somewhat like pediatric cancer or different things like that. So we were super bought in on that model. But as we grew in this digital marketing agency, we basically saw that like a lot of brands had nothing built in, but wanted to focus on sustainability. So we kind of meshed the two and we're like, let's test this and see like, hey, let's tie a one-to-one model of one tree planted for every order, and sort of started with some brands that didn't have any initiatives like that. And they loved it. And they saw a huge response to where it was something that is really important to us. Was we come from the business side, but had our toes in sustainability, and we wanted to merge the two to where we wanted to basically grow your impact, grow your business, kind of tie those two together, and saw the value in it and like the benefit for business. So it was a long culmination of kind of pivoting and matching lots of
Right.
different things and finding this angle of, oh, like it's really cool when you can tie one tree to one action.
Oh, I love that. And I love that. And also, I want to know everything about the trees. I know that you guys plant a few, but there's one specific tree that you guys plant, right? Which one is that one?
Yeah, so that was a big part of kind of the figuring out in our story. Is we focus on mangrove trees. So mangroves are pretty much a super tree. So of course, what we're doing is it has a huge focus on climate and sustainability and impact. Mangroves are the super tree in terms of carbon sequestration. They are the highest, pretty much highest carbon sequestrating tree in the world. We plant them internationally in countries like Madagascar. And now our newest planting site is Kenya, and they store carbon under in the soil, so they're blue carbon sinks. So if you think like the way that they're sequestering carbon, if the tree were to die at some point, they actually like that start carbon stays stored. And the other reason we focus on them is they have super high survivability rates. So we actually don't really see these trees die, where they germinate more trees around them. They protect coastlines. There's a lot of natural benefits around like habitat restoration, and there's a crazy stat like something like 2/3 of all tropical fish start in mangrove estuaries. So there's all these benefits kind of layered on top of each other, to where it starts with one, they're a durable tree to when we plant them, we know they're going to survive, and we can actually track and monitor it. Two, they're going to sequester more carbon than any other tree. And then three, they're going to build up and restore those ecosystems around them. So they are a super tree. We have lots of different trees, but that's the mostly what we plant.
I know. I love the way, and we have a picture here that you sent to us. I love this image because if you're from the coast, I'm from Florida. I have seen these. These exist everywhere, specifically around coasts. And I love what they do. Do they grow naturally around like lake areas, or like where exactly do they grow usually?
Yeah, so it's coastline. They're the only tree that grows. It's both saltwater and freshwater. So it's really great. Like they're at like basically like points where like rivers enter into the ocean and coastlines. And it's really cool. You can see there the little, it looks like a stick with the little leaves on top. That's what's being planted actually. It's called a propagule. So it's like a foot-long stick. So it's not just throwing seeds into the mud or the dirt. It's actually hand-planted propagules is what that's called, which is really cool.
That is the coolest thing ever. And I know that you talked a little bit about the little creatures that you guys have been lucky enough to save. I would love to hear about what other animals you guys are working on and like what countries that is and things like that.
Yeah, so many animals, like too many. So historically, Madagascar has something like hundreds of unique species to them, which like you see the lemurs, like the movie kind of made that island famous. So a lot of people know the lemurs, but there's a ton. So there's all different types of animals that we're supporting. It's everything from fish to like small wildlife to kind of the more like even like ambient creatures like crickets and bugs and things like that. All of those are super important to the ecosystem, so it helps with all of those. Lemurs are an interesting one specific to Madagascar. That's the cute ones that everyone likes to see. But there's a ton of animals there that we support. It's that's a really cool thing that we're working on too, is like ambient noise monitoring. So like as the trees grow and it's kind of over the lifetime, we can actually say and like measure, oh, there's more animals here because it's louder. Yeah. So really cool stuff comes with that, of like the impact goes far beyond just a tree going in the ground.
I love this. And also, oh my gosh, this has been the most exciting project for me because look at that thing. Like, look how adorable that little lemur is. And it's so great that you guys are working on protecting these little guys and giving them help. I know that I'm sure that it's probably extra hard to make sure that they have a place to live, you know, and I'm glad that you guys are focusing on sustainability because, you know, who else can do it? You guys saw a problem, you wanted to solve it. That is so cool. And I also want to know how that relates to most brands, because I know that you talked about streamlining the relationship between sustainability and e-commerce, and then also just brand relationships. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that is for you. So why is building sustainability into your brand so important, you know, from planet and customer standpoint?
Yeah, so planet, I think standpoint is just, it's obvious. I think everything's going that way. Like just the research, I think it's front of mind for everyone. That's one of the nice parts and reason we focused on trees. You don't need to educate too many people that like a tree is a good thing. So from a just overall standpoint, I think it's front of mind for everyone because they know there's obviously climate crisis and trees are really easy to get behind because they are such an important part of solving the problem. And then for the brands, what it does is this really unique connecting point to where sustainability is a big topic, and a lot of brands are trying to tackle it from a materiality or a sourcing or an operational standpoint, which is really complicated, super expensive, and tough, to be honest with you. And it's like there's carbon credits and a lot of different confusing elements to it. So where we see it fitting in with the brand and sustainability is we're a great first step, middle step, or last step. First step, where it's saying, hey, we know we want to be better and communicate that to your customers. We kind of see it as being like leveling with your audience, to be saying, hey, like this is something we're looking at, trying to focus on, and this is something we're trying to do to be better. And it really is a cool way to engage with people, where I think the majority of the world is what I would say is environmental-ish. We all want to do better. And if there's something tied to that, we want to support a business or something that's doing something good for the world. So it's really easy to get behind from that. And then the follow through. So like telling people and messaging out that story of, hey, why a mangrove tree? Why Madagascar? Why Kenya? Why does this help animals? And all these other cool story elements kind of help with that engagement and storytelling to the end customer. So it's just overall, it's simple and it's easy to understand at its core. So that's why it's a great starting point. But it shows people you care because it's real. There's it's tangible. We really try and frame it as, this is you as a brand might be doing this. Who are you doing it for? Your customer. Show them like really it's their tree. That's how we like to frame it. That's how it feels special. It's warm and fuzzy. And then when that person says, okay, cool, you planted a tree, but then they get an email or something showing like, oh, they actually planted a tree. Like it's really cool and it adds a lot of kind of fun engagement there.
It was very surprising whenever I learned, not only is it like you guys have, I think I have a photo here, you guys had the one order equals one tree. Also, it tells you when correct me if I'm wrong, it tells you when the tree is being planted and like
Yeah.
tells you like where it is and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the big piece of like our focus is the transparency side. Like the reason we built, and this even goes to the backstory of the reason we built EcoDrive the way we did is because we thought it was super important to say like, hey, like you're telling someone you planted a tree. We want you to be able to tell them when, where, and why. And so we verify all the trees. So every single person planting the trees in these countries has a phone, like it's an Android phone, and on a daily basis they're recording things like latitude, longitude, timestamps, the content, like they're taking pictures of the trees as they plant them. All that data is uploaded to blockchain so that it's all verifiable, so that we know, amazing, the trees that were supposed to get planted from November, Black Friday, Cyber Monday of last year, those are now in the ground however many months later. Typically it's between 3, 6, 8 months, depending on like scale. And so we actually know that. So then we can tell a brand, say, hey, like trees from that month, they're planted, tell your customer, and kind of bring them back to your funnel and things like that.
I love that. And then, I mean, there's so many levels to that. It can get so granular. You know, you can work on the e-commerce level and say like, this is how many trees we want to plant. And then also you can be an individual that says, you know, I personally would like to plant a tree. So you can work organizationally and on the individual level. And I think that you're right. Whenever push comes to shove, people do care about the environment. You know, maybe it's not as big of a topic as I think it should be, but I definitely think that the data is there. And it also is going to help build that client retention and that loyalty. And I did want to talk a little bit about you guys' strategies for retention. You know, do you find that putting a focus on sustainability helps that in any way?
Yeah, definitely. So that's where I'd say it's so additive to where it's something to where in this world of e-commerce and digital marketing and all that, it's something that's so additive and kind of special outside of that realm to where you're showing buy-in as the brand. So from a retention strategy standpoint, there's a lot of different things you can do. One, of course, like at the point of purchase, that's a super cool place to say, hey, we plant a tree for every order. But the follow-up and the follow-through is really important. So like strategies around that, the main one's probably SMS and email. Super easy to work in there of like a post-purchase flow to where you tell someone right after, hey, did you know you planted a tree? Maybe they missed it. And it's a cool kind of reminder, and it's a nice affinity and positive brand affinity they have there. 30, 60 days later, you can say, hey, your tree's getting ready to go in the ground. And it's another thing to bring them back and kind of just cool. It's in the world of lots of emails and email bombardment of sales and all these things. It's a really cool thing where we see higher open rates and people interested and they're like, oh, I forgot I planted a tree. Like, what's happening? And it's part of that education, like
Yeah.
what type of tree and where was it again and all that. And then in 6 months, like 8 months down the road, you can send them that other one saying your tree's in the ground. That's super cool with like a CTA to purchase. Like you want to plant another tree instead of buy something else. It's like plant another tree. And so there's a lot of fun ways to sort of engage with that. And you get to see who your more sustainably focused shoppers and customers are, but you also see like the ones that maybe you didn't think were sustainable. Or if you have a product that's like, this wouldn't fit, you can test it really easily and say like, do people care? It's really, really weird, kind of the different product types we see. Test this out, like industrial pieces of equipment. Send emails and people love it. And they're like, where's my tree? And they ask all these cool questions. So it kind of speaks for itself. It opens a conversation because it's so simple and easy to understand. So really simple strategies that can be really effective for kind of showcasing and like talking and engaging with the customer.
Yeah, I fully forgot. So it is very interesting because like make the purchase and you fully forget and you're like, oh my gosh, I just helped the environment a little bit. And also that now is aligned with that brand, right? And that's why we love working with you at Hawke Media, because you guys aligned, you know, the brand, the e-commerce product directly with sustainability. And there's proof. You know, we're not just saying like, hey, we're focusing on being more sustainable. We're saying, look at what we're doing today to become more sustainable as an organization. And look how you can be a part of that. And that's really exciting. I love that. And also, I had some really interesting statistics that were sent over. But you guys do your research. Let me just say that really quickly. Good kudos to your team. You guys do your research. 77% of consumers want to purchase from a business that essentially cares about the environment. You know, that makes sense to me completely. And that it's very helpful too with the visual aids, that it is definitely close to 80% of people, including myself, including a lot of others, I'm sure, are feeling the same way. They're looking for an opportunity to help and you're putting it right in front of them. I love that.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because like that's I think what wins out there is like the authenticity, like the greenwash, like that's where people like greenwashing is a big topic, and so doing something that's so real and like shows like, hey, we care, like direct impact, I guess is the sort of the best buzzword there, where it's something good is happening in the world because you're supporting the brand. That's like that's the story there. So it's really easy for
Right.
people to get behind, and they want to see something. Like I said, it's we even like the brands we work with, we tell them like, hey, if you're not perfect, that is so okay, but like don't hold off on trying to be better, to where like people just want to, like people get it, like you're like, hey, we're trying to be better, this is one of the things we're doing. That honestly gets one of the best response rates because people see, they feel like they're being spoke to like intelligently and like being leveled with, as opposed to just kind of marketed at.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest mistakes that we see at Hawke is people making claims that they don't actually, that they're making claims that in the future they will be more sustainable instead of saying here's our sustainability plan, and also here's how you can get involved today. And that's exactly what you were saying. Like, I 100% agree. I think that putting it in front of them and saying, if you want to insight change your opportunity, it's here right now, is so helpful. And that brand honesty is so important, especially with retention, because it's such a difficult conversation, right? Retention is so confusing and so different for everybody. And especially, e-commerce, I'm sure it feels that in a very different way as maybe product or service brands that don't have e-commerce capabilities do. But it's true. And it's going to be more cost effective to retain employees. This is helping everybody. This is helping, you got your business side and your finance side and your, marketing side are all on this. They're like, this is all great for all of us because, it's saving you money, but with those returning clients and returning customers, it's helping you push out a helpful message by reminding people that you are earth friendly, not only earth friendly, but doing things actively every single day with every purchase to become more earth friendly. And that's amazing. There's so many different tactics that you can use, but I think EcoDrive is just one that stands out to me because it's tangible,
Yeah, and it's the leveling, like talking about like kind of like you said, like authentic to where like it's a tree being planted, like even with like the over claims and things, like what you should say is this tree will sequester carbon over its lifetime. That's what happens. Like it's going in the ground to grow for a long time. And
Yeah.
that's an easy parallel to like retention of like, you're kind of planting the seed with the customer and then like you're trying to grow and nurture them as well. I just came up with that. I did not plan that cheesy little bit
I
there. But yeah,
definitely
that
thought
works
that was
out really
planned.
well. Works out really well. Yeah, it's interesting.
You had me.
Yeah, there's so many. That's the cool part, is there are a lot of like sustainable, now it's a growing movement to where like from there's lots of different solutions, and so like putting all those together, and like even with like people and employees, like we plant for company events and do those types of, like for every person that goes, and similar, like send everyone that attended an event, wellness, we did like a wellness event, and it's like everyone that went, we planted a tree. So there's lots of different ways you can tweak and tune it to where it kind of fits in with your model and how you want to communicate it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you're going to get into this a little more, but I was curious if you could talk us through how we can take a step, just at least one step, into being more sustainable as an organization. I'm sure you've seen this from every angle, so we want to get it right from the source.
Yeah, so there's a few different, so like of course, like one of the biggest ones that I think people talk about that like should always be the first is like the internal analysis of when you talk about like reduction of emissions, kind of around like operations. That's the first one, is kind of, I think, an audit. So the first one is just research and understanding. I think before diving into anything, it's always super important to just start with, okay, what do we know, what don't we know, and where should we get started on this? But I think that that's like taking their first step is something that should be well researched. So I think first it's a kind of internal view of, hey, what are we currently doing, if anything, or if nothing, and what area do we want to focus on first? Like if we have packaging, if those operations, or maybe shipments to customers, and like emissions around transportation. So I think the first one is an internal audit, and then the second one is a test, like testing something, but integrating it with a customer feedback loop, to where I think it's really you want to understand what your customers care about, along like which piece of the journey of sustainability do they care about most, so that you can then focus your efforts on what tie into your back end customer. So I think that that's like the most important thing to start, is kind of internal view, audit, understanding, and potentially like looking at where you can reduce, and then first actionable steps based on customer feedback from there. There's
I
lots
love
of cool
that. And customer feedback, that is such a huge point.
for that too, like some interesting things we see brands do. It's like if you have like send out polls to via email or like on social, like do Instagram polls and do different things of saying like, hey, like, do you want a more sustainable? There's really free, cool, quick, easy options you can do to kind of pulse and get a gauge from your audience. Like if you have the option, do you want something? And it's like great indicators of, okay, where should we start? Like, what do you want to see? What are you seeing other brands do? Different things. There's a lot of really like free, easy ways to start.
Yeah, it seems like putting the customer first too is so helpful. Users love polls. That is a huge thing that I was going to mention too. I'm so glad you brought that up. With retention, a lot of times people are trying to figure out what the best thing is and anticipate those needs. But we live in a social media society. Why would you try to anticipate something instead of just asking them outright? You know, of course you want to do that marketing research, but the polls are really going to help you. And also, of course, the biggest question I wanted to ask you, which is like, it seems like every single e-commerce brand we have always asks the same thing. How can we prevent abandoned carts? Like, how can we lower that percentage? And I understand that EcoDrive has a strategy actually with, they partner with you, work with you directly, that helps with that. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so that's one. It's leveraging the tree. So the tree is really shockingly powerful with really across everything. We see it with retention, acquisition, and all those different bits. So specific to abandoned carts, typically you're going to have your 3 or 4 email flow over the next, you know what I mean, 24 to 48 hours when someone abandons their cart. And a lot of times brands are incentivizing with discounts in that, to where if you have an average order value or a product that's $100 and you need to give 10-15% off to get that person back in abandoned cart, that's significant in terms of kind of your margin there. So we always integrate in that first step or second step before you give an offer, incentivize with the tree, which is a much lower cost and get people to pull forward, because again, it's additive, it's feel good, it makes people want to support, and it gives them a reason to buy. So we see a lift in conversion rate. So from just adding a simple banner at cart saying we plant a tree with every purchase, at that point of purchase, we see an average of 17% lift from cart to conversion. And then on abandoned cart, varies across every brand, but in adding in like a tree planting call out saying, hey, you forgot something, like we'll plant a tree if you purchase now, we do see pull that conversion forward across anywhere from that 5 to 17-ish% rate from abandoned carts. Super powerful.
That's huge. That percentage could be the difference of hundreds of people. You know, that's fantastic. It is like definitely the biggest topic of conversation for e-commerce brands, and definitely as well for, you know, services. They're like, we know that this is going to be a value to us, but we don't understand why we should pull the trigger. So helping that without, you don't need to spend as much time and power on the human side, you know, having someone walk them to the finish line. You can literally guide them with these helpful incentives. And also, you feel great. It is definitely something that I would say made me a little bit selfish for partaking in. I was like, this is awesome. Like, I just planted a tree with my purchase. Like, look at me. There's that level. I love that. And that's great. You know, like, you should feel good about it. Like, you did something great. I love that. I'd love to hear more about that for you too.
Yeah, it's people are looking for an excuse to buy. Like the reason they added that cart, people are looking for an excuse to buy. So having that extra, you know what I mean, edge, and giving them another reason to have buy-in and be like, oh, well, I'm planting a tree. It's a justification. Like it helps in so many angles with that. But yeah, it's just, it's so additive. And it's easy to get behind.
Yeah, I mean, I immediately saw that. I was like, oh, then I have to. You know, this is a role in the environment. I have to participate. We have so many people do this all the time. Like, we're always looking for ways to become more sustainable. We work with a lot of brands at Hawke. If you're not already a partner, become a partner. Hawke information in the description as well. There's information about Blake. Probably should have said that sooner. Thanks, Blake. In there, Blake. There's information in the description for you to get involved and do what he's talking about, and also Hawke partnerships. You know, we love working with brands, like specifically, and your co-founder Trevor as well is fantastic. We've had just such a great relationship with you guys. We're so happy to be working together. But I wanted to know too, like from your perspective, I think that like those partnership things and those, you know, marketing things, do you think those things can go together? Do you think partnership with brands like EcoDrive can work for every brand, or do you think that there's specific times where it doesn't work for everybody?
Yeah, so it's cool. So fortunately, shameless plug here, it's really worked for everyone, just at different levels. So like when we talk conversion rate, these different things, like everyone sees some type of lift, and that's where like we coined that term of environmental ish, where people want to support it and do it, and it is a like they're trying to buy from brands already. They want to support, like they're looking for a reason. So it's interesting, but everyone should test it. So our biggest thing, and this is actually where it's been so great partnering with Hawke, because I think you guys have done a great job like helping with implementation, is it's supposed to provide business value. So we want to, like, we view things as partnership and long term. Like our goal is to plant trees, and the way we do that is partnering with brands for the long term and planting forever, hopefully. So I think really testing and implementing and like having an effective marketing team to do that is so important, because luckily in digital marketing, in this world of e-commerce and everything, it's really easy to track. Like that email campaign you send out saying, hey, we're planting a tree for every order, that should cover the cost of the trees for the month. It always does. And so things like that, and like having a good team to kind of support that on the partnership side, like it can work for everyone. I think it's at different levels. We see like brands with a female demo, I think, do really well. Like they do. So certain ones we see like gravitate towards like higher performance, but everyone sees a positive benefit, to where we've had brands that I would have thought would honestly, it would not work with an older demographic, or maybe they don't like care about the climate, and we get emails in and they're like, where's my tree? It's so interesting. So yeah, I'd say like yeah. So it's really interesting where and kind of how it's applied. And we've learned so much from brands that have kind of taken it and put in their own spin on it. But it's the important thing is, one, it's simple, so they can kind of blend it into their own identity. And then the fact that the customer's already everyone knows that tree equals good. So that's where it's nice. You can always test it across everything. Yeah.
That is, and that formula, we need to have like a hand out that formula to people, tree equals good. If that's not already your next marketing campaign, it should be, because it's true. And also I would like to say, are you, I would rather ask, are you saying that women are a little better at sustainability than men for the most part, according to your data?
Apparently from the data, I think they might care a little, like they just tend to care more. So it's interesting to where it's across all brands, but yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Also think for myself, I'm sure that there are women out there with good intentions and things like that, but oh my goodness, for me it was just a nice excuse. I was like, look, I'm helping the environment and I'm getting the thing that I want. This is a win-win. Everybody is happy in the situation.
It's a win-win.
So,
win-win-win.
Yeah, you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Is that where you got the idea? Do you see that somewhere and you're like, oh, like maybe you're in there asking you funny.
No, it was it was cool. Some of the early brands we launched it was like all different, but the ones like we had like a women's swimwear brand that put it in like their ads and website and email, and it like they had the top performing ad campaign for like 2 years. Just had a little tree planting call. It said we plant a tree with every purchase, and a tree emoji. Beat everything with no audience. So that was just one of those early kind of case studies. We're like, whoa, like this did really well. But it was also like it won because it was simple. Like nothing was changed other than it was added to existing copy. And we plant a tree that we purchased, tree emoji. That was it.
Right.
It was simple. So.
And also, I'm already sold. Don't know the brand, don't know the situation. I'm sold.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, so great. I love you guys' mission. Like genuinely, I'm so glad that we're partnered here at Hawke. And you did a shameless plug. I think it's my turn to do a shameless plug. At Hawke, we have an amazing partnership program. We partner with, of course, EcoDrive, which there's more information about them in the description if you want to check that out. And also we partner with brands like, TikTok, Shopify, Snapchat, and mostly some of the data that we were using in this conversation, actually, we stole from our partners at Shopify. Is it stealing if your partners? I think we shared that data from them specifically. And honestly, the partnership program is amazing. I don't think I left it on there long enough. Sorry about that. But you guys it's an amazing deal. And I mean, sure, Blake, you have things to say about it. I'd love to hear how you feel specifically about Hawke Media partnerships. Has it been a good experience for you?
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. I think you guys team over there. It's just been so fun. Seamless partnerships is an interesting game. And so having like the engagement, I think it's like always with the long-term in mind has been so awesome. And I think we're relatively local too. So it's been awesome. We've gotten to meet a lot of you in person and be at events, but it's partnerships is all about kind of, I think, trusting the partners. And so being able to point people in both directions and say, hey, like, look, like they're going to crush it and do really well, but it's been an awesome partnership. Doing things like this is super cool. So we're fully bought in and love working with Hawke.
I love that. And actually, I love this little shameless plug. I love my partnerships.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Chanel, if we haven't already said it, and I think everybody sees her praises probably every time we talk about her. She's fantastic. If you want more information, of course, reach out to her directly. She's in the comments right now. She can talk to you. Network, connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow everybody. Follow. We got all of your information on there, Blake. You're gonna get a lot of requests today. You're gonna be very popular. But we definitely encourage you guys to follow EcoDrive. They're fantastic. And I think I would be remiss too. I feel like I'm definitely jumping the gun here, and I know that I am, but there's just so many exciting conversations going on regarding, like sustainability and retention and what that means. And the relationship we have seen is fantastic. The numbers hold up. The customers and users, all the data supports that sustainability is not, it shouldn't just be a direct partnership as a brand, but also it should be a partnership, in your service and product and e-commerce strategy. I love that. So I also want to ask one last thing, and I know that you kind of touched on this, but we got to talk about ROI. We have to talk about ROI. We talked about the 17%, lift that we see whenever we elevate those additional, we elevate that promotion on the checkout cart. But do you ever feel like there are other opportunities that maybe we didn't talk about yet?
Yeah. So conversion rate's a huge one. That's one that I think we talk about the most because it's just front of mind for everyone. But so we have like really trackable, measurable ROI across multiple channels. So I spoke a little bit to the paid media. There's the main three, I'd say, in terms of trackability is conversion rate on site, email, and SMS, because those are campaign and flow based. So you can see what revenue is attributed based on the flow or campaign you send, like if you're featuring sustainability and things like that. And again, like anyone who's ever sent a campaign talking about tree planting and announcing that to their audience, it's like on a monthly basis, it's never not been more than paid for. So it's really easy to track those. And then paid media is a really interesting one. So acquisition is a super powerful one, to where I think that's a lot of times the core focus of brands is, acquiring new customers. And there's a huge shift in this. I think you pulled the stats, right? Like conscious consumerism is this massively quickly growing audience that we see, to where people are looking for, some are only buying from brands that have some sustainable element to them. So working it into your acquisition strategy across different paid channels is definitely something that's worth doing. And again, it's really easy to see how it performs from an ROI standpoint. Does this ad convert better when you plug tree planting, or have that tree emoji, or have a CTA to shop sustainably, or plant and purchase? So there's a lot of different ways. And again, it's designed to be affordable. The trees are affordable at whatever scale. So we have brands that plant a couple trees a month and tens of thousands. And at every kind of level of scale, it really does pay for itself. And you see a massive ROI. Typically, we're seeing like conservatively 2 to 4x kind of on the cost of trees and what they see from the actual brand value on a monthly basis. It doesn't just start and stop either, which I think is super important. It's something that's meant to be like leveraged and showcased for the long term, because it's the tree's growing. Like this is their tree. So if they come back and buy from you again, that's a second tree for that customer. They should know that. They should kind of be. So that's if you can get them to come back, I think the other ROI metric is lifetime value and retention. That's a big one, to where you can get someone to come back 30 days, 60 days, and then 6 months for 3 more purchases because they love the concept and the tree reminded them. That's so powerful. And it's a really like low cost in terms of the acquisition. So super powerful across everything. Everyone should test it. That's the cool part. Like I always like to say, hey, we'll put our money where our mouth is. Like try it, test it, and you'll see the result. And the nice, like, it's so simple to plug in and be that first step to where it's like, let's see if this works. Let's see. I can say that confidently because it always does. So it's nice. But yeah, we love the measurement and data side of it, because again, it's like, if it's going to be valuable for the business, what's more likely to stick around, which means more trees are going to get planted. So that's our goal.
Yeah, I think one of your teammates told me low risk, high reward, I think was what they said. Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's so true.
Yeah, and if worst case, trees will get planted. Like if it's a campaign, it's like if one person plants a tree, that is one more tree in the world, which is really cool.
Love that. I think this is mission too. Is it so difficult? And I think that the answer, I think we've talked about it now, the answer to client retention is to think outside the box. Go to where your clients need you to be, your users need you to be. A lot of times your users reveal information than we realize in their day-to-day activities and those polls like we talked about, with those purchases. I definitely would say that I would shop at a place that I've, used EcoDrive or, plant a tree, because it makes you feel good about yourself. And also, that you're doing the right thing. And now you attach that positive feeling to the brand. And that like subtle psychology is so valuable.
Oh yeah, and it goes beyond that to where this is less data back, more anecdotal. But when you do that, if you get that email like, oh, I planted a tree with this brand, you tell your friend, you tell someone, you share it, it's cool. And they're like, well, what brand? Like there's just so many ways that it extends and kind of opens up unique conversations that typically aren't brought up for like that shopping experience, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I remember in college they had these videos of like these college kids like talking about sustainability, and I remember they had like a litter video, and there was a kid who like threw his cup on the ground. The other kid was like, that's not cool, littering is not cool. And like nobody's having those kinds of conversations anymore. And also they never did. Like that strategy did not work. First of all, there was no littering. First of all, second of all, who was the market in those videos? I have no clue. So now that we have sustainability efforts are backed by companies like EcoDrive, it's great.
Yeah, it's the real world approach of like, let's like, we should do something good, and a tree is good, and we can prove that it gets in the ground. Let's start there. And again, like people resonate with being talked to, like they're like you're talking to them like a real person.
Those videos kill me. If you have a second, they all live on YouTube. All of those like sustainability encouragement videos.
There's no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that all of us kind of had to watch them, and as we're getting older, the focus started to shift a little bit more, and now we're behind it. We're able to make that change, and that's so exciting. You and your co-founders and your whole team, you guys are a part of the mission that says, we're here to create positive good in a way that people understand, in a way that makes them also want to help and support other brands. You're helping and sharing wealth with other businesses and associations, and then you're using retention strategies, and that's incredibly helpful. And so, on behalf of the world, obviously I speak on behalf of everyone in the entire universe for your environmental health and all of the work that you guys do, in case someone hasn't told you already.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's always great to hear. Like we're proud of what we built, and we're always trying to be better too. So that's one of the big things is we love what we've built, and we're super proud and stand behind it. And there's so much cool stuff coming down the road in terms of, I think, like the verification and legitimacy of projects that we're constantly investing in the technology in the field, that we always want to bring like more transparency, like, hey, this is what's happening. And like, if anything happens in the field, you'll know, and there's updates. So that's a big focus of ours, that like, so it's always nice to hear things like the buy-in kind of, from partners around like what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you need to hear it, like, because the work you guys do is great. And whenever we first, started working with you guys, you guys send out this amazing helpful packet. So if you become a partner with EcoDrive, they send you a really great packet, and it has like information about the data that you guys, see every day in your line of work, and how many trees you're planting. And also, please remind me the countries that you guys plant in. I know you said Madagascar, but what were the other countries that you guys?
Yeah, so Kenya now, our main one for mangroves is actually Kenya now. So we just opened up that new project this year. We have a global planting network. So we have US based projects, we have Canada, we have South America, we have like Asia Pacific. We have all different kind of, if there's a country you wanted to target, we have networks everywhere. The only thing that varies is type of tree, like different trees in different places. But yeah, so we have global network, and that's our big focus, is to expand that, because if a brand they source from a certain country and want to kind of tie that into their story, it's something we're trying to add. Of like, we have a lot of brands that source things from Brazil that want Brazilian trees. So we're always working on adding different countries, different types of trees, and different projects. But core one is mangroves in Kenya.
That's so cool. And also, I love that. I did not know that you guys like kind of accommodate, to specific goals. Do you do that like often?
Yeah, we try to. So yeah, it's a big focus. So like, we're about to launch our first kelp restoration, which is different. Like, growing kelp is a whole different game than growing or planting trees, but we're adding lots of different, we always want to stick to verified nature-based solutions. We're also working on a lot more agroforestry. So things like planting fruit trees in local communities to help with like poverty alleviation is a big. So we're always, that's a huge focus, is project expansion, so that we can fit with more brands. Because like some brands want something more ocean focused, some might have food products and they want to help with sustainable farming and different things like that. So it'll always be verified nature-based solutions, but we are 100% trying to accommodate to where if a brand wants to plant in a certain country, we will search and try and find projects in that country and see what we can do.
That's fantastic. That should definitely be, you know, that's fantastic. And I love that mission, the drive. You guys are like, yeah, whatever problem you have, we're here to help you solve it. We're here to help make things easier for you. Oh my goodness. I mean, is there any negative?
I don't know. Hopefully
no
not.
negative.
Yeah, hopefully not. We try to, I mean, I think that we come from the brand, like the space on the brand side. And so we know how crazy it is to run a brand. And so we try to really like make it a no-brainer, but also empower, like we do with the welcome package. So everyone that partners with us, they can get a blog and social assets and all these really cool things. It's all tracked in a portal too, to where they have all those marketing strategies. It's like fully flushed out to where they get access to all of that just by working with us. And it's not like a service fee or anything. We want the business to succeed, because that means we will plant more trees. That's our business, is driving the impact tied to the business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that, especially, you know, working at Hawke Media. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, it becomes difficult to come up with new strategies. You have a brand that you've been working with for a while, you know, and you eventually build up more of a stand, and then all of a sudden it's almost like a plateau happens. And a lot of people are seeing that now, and in the middle of this tech transition that we're experiencing with like AI and like that. And there was like a bit of a plateau. So there's definitely, this is exciting data, because this means that not only do we have to find new retention strategies that match them, we can do that and be earth conscious, and we can do that in a way that is, you know, I don't want to say sustainable as it's sustainable, but more like sustainable for organization as well as sustainable for the environment, which is, that's such a challenge. You know, working in marketing every day, the area, I guess, the environment is so different. And I'm sure you guys have seen that. You work with quite a few brands that I'm sure you've experienced that with.
Yeah, and we have a close pulse on that, to where like it's crazy. Like there's cycles to the e-commerce market, and it's kind of a crazy time right now. To where luckily, from a data standpoint, what's nice is we've seen the conscious consumer, I guess is the word for that, has like they're standing the test of time, I think. And it's even more important now than anything, like to give people a reason to buy and support you kind of over other brands and different things like that. So it's been a really cool thing that's been resilient, to where sustainability is not going anywhere. It's already sort of lasted through the tough time that's already happened, and I think that could continue. So it's been really reassuring to see that. And it's sustainable. Like people, it's like I said,
I love that.
It's so front of mind, I think, environment for people, so where like it's not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah, I definitely, I heard about it, and I was like, you guys don't know, you know, like people actually care now. This is a long-term issue, so there's not going to be a short problem for a long solution for a long-term issue. You know, we have to keep coming up with ways to become more sustainable, and organizations now have not only called to be better in, you know, civil way, you know, in regard to civil rights, also in regard to sustainability and environmental support. That is now a priority. That needs to be something that you already are working on. It's already underway. There's no reason why you didn't already have that in front of mind, specifically in a period where, I mean, the planet is dying. Like, I don't know a nice way to say that. The planet is dying. EcoDrive is working to help, and your business and your brand relies on people like Blake and Trevor and the amazing partners that we have in the sustainability field that are pushing through and are trying to make a really tangible change. Oh, I love all of this. I love the fact that we got to talk about this today. I genuinely enjoyed our conversation, and really hope that we can do this again in the future.
Yeah, so here, listen, this is awesome. Thank you. Thank Hawke. This, again, great partnership. So we're super bought in. So glad to be a part of it.
Yes, and I'm going to say that now we are best friends. And so if anybody wants to see our further best friendship between me and Blake, and also, you know, Hawke Media and EcoDrive, a fantastic partnership. And we hope people can tell you it is amazing. We're so happy to be working with you guys. And we look forward to many, many more years working together and seeing how you guys are creating actual real change we're fighting for ways too to create, sustainable plans for our clients. It's very difficult, and you guys are making it a little easier. So totally appreciate.
We're trying.
I want to go ahead and check comments really. Oh, we got just like leave emojis, which is so funny, and you already know what they're talking about. You already know they picked up on it. I love that.
I said those are powerful emojis.
Yeah. I love that. Just keep commenting forever. Now I comment a team emoji every single time you guys post on social. If you haven't already followed Blake and EcoDrive, please do so. All of their information, every single account that they have, everyone that they have is in our description. And also, feel free to rewatch this anytime on YouTube. Go directly to Blake. There's more information in the description there. If you want to be a Hawke partner, there's also a link to that. So thank you so much to everybody who had the opportunity to join. Do you have any last words, Blake?
Just thank you, Alyssa. Thank you everyone for joining. This was awesome.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the emoji power. I think that I'm out. Feel free to tune into the Hawke newsletter, and we will see you guys in next month's showcase. Thanks so much, Blake, for joining. Bye, everybody.
Bye.